Hey there, Virginia here, back with another solo episode answering some of your most frequently asked questions about podcasting. In the prior episode, I highlighted the difference between just having a YouTube channel versus podcasting. I explained what podcasting really is and shared what you need to get started, whether you're going audio only or recording video as well. One of the biggest issues I see in business owners' podcasts is the lack of action-oriented language or even intention to drive clients into their business. When I speak to said business owners, the conversation often starts with a complaint of some sort about not getting clients from their show or the lack of traction from their show. But when I dive into the details, there are some key mindset pieces and actual components of the podcast missing. If you don't tell people exactly what you want them to do, they'll do nothing. You can't hint, hope, insinuate, or intend. Your potential clients aren't mind readers. So as you're designing your new show or reevaluating your existing podcast, ensure the components discussed throughout this episode are included and ultra clear in your podcast. If you have a podcast and aren't getting the traction, followers, or clients you want from it, and are having a hard time evaluating it yourself, sign up for a podcast audit with me, and I'll personally evaluate your show and provide a complete report with action steps you can fix immediately. First, let's address the fact that the podcast industry is not saturated. There's a ton of space in this medium still, especially for high quality, action-oriented niche shows that will really give a listener pointed guidance. There's great opportunity not just to produce another interview podcast, there's already a million of those, but instead to really create something unique with segments and styles specific to you and what you know would be great for your ideal client. There are 1.1 billion with a B websites and 114 million with an M YouTube channels. There are only 4 million podcasts. You and I both know that there are a ton of websites, YouTube channels, and podcasts that are just existing. They're old, outdated, and nobody's even touched them for years. When we add this filter for active channels, we cut upwards of 80% of the competition on every platform. So if we narrow things down and just look at active channels, there are still 194 million websites, 22.8 million YouTube channels, and 156,000 active podcasts. Now take it a step further and let's estimate how many of these are actually in your niche. I primarily serve financial service professionals, which is only 13% of the total online content produced, meaning as a financial service professional, you're only in competition with 25 million websites, 2.9 million YouTube channels, and 20,000 podcasts. I bet you put no thought whatsoever into needing a business website. It's a must-have. So if it's a hands-down, no questions asked yes to playing in the same playground as 25 million websites, don't you see the fabulous odds of standing out, reaching your ideal audience, and nurturing a community around your brand using a podcast? Your odds of standing out in a pool of 20,000 podcasts is much better than standing out with your website. This is why podcasts are still growing in popularity among business owners and listeners. This industry is still in its infancy, and while it may take 70 or more episodes to really feel like you're building a following, That's just because it takes people a little while to find you. But it's pretty dang easy to get started on the right foot and stand out. Now that you know you can stand out and that there's much less competition than on other platforms, here's how to ensure your show converts listeners into clients. You're going to follow this acronym, CRAFT, C-R-A-F-T. C stands for content. R is repurpose. A is ask. F is feature. And T is track. That's C-R-A-F-T. Let's talk about content. Content is targeted topics your audience wants to hear. Every topic, title, and segment within your show should directly address a singular pain point your ideal client is feeling. A great way to do this is to create episode topics around frequently asked questions, topics you know are hard for your clients to bring up, they might not want to talk about, or around highly searched phrases in your niche. One way to find topics to discuss on your show is to literally pull up Google and type in a question you know or think your potential clients might have. A financial planner or advisor might get questions around which debt is good or bad, or whether to invest in real estate or the market, or which investment types are the most tax advantaged. Perhaps you have a tax strategist or a CPA do a segment with you to answer those questions. See how this frequently asked questions approach helps you start sparking ideas? The point is, every episode should give the listener something precise to walk away with, an answer to a specific question, or an order of operations, or a set of values to reflect on. So let's talk about the R, repurpose. This comes in the form of repurposing content. One huge way you can effectively and efficiently tweak podcasting to further solidify your client acquisition process is through repurposing. You need to get your content on additional platforms where additional people hang out. I want you to embrace the possibility of creating the content once and reusing those pieces and concepts from that single episode anywhere else someone could possibly find it. I've met very motivated business owners who want to post content on every platform and seem like they're everywhere all the time. Then they think, well, first I'll write a blog, and then I can turn that into a script, and I'll pull the main points out of it and record a podcast episode. And then I can make a reel covering each of those 5 main points. And so that's 5 reels, 1 for each day. Okay, just stop right there. I'm already exhausted for you. Flip everything. What if you created the podcast episode first, made a few adjustments so you can video yourself at the same time, and then either your trusted editor can pull things out for repurposing, or you can use AI to at least highlight clips and suggest some pieces to repurpose? AI platforms can clip your videos into reels, suggest 3 blog posts based on your podcast episode, pull out quotes so you can make those into carousels. They can provide tweets and even draft a newsletter for you. I always suggest checking AI's creations and changing some wording so that it sounds like something you'd actually write. But the tools and simplicity are all there for the taking. Repurposing your recordings into reels, YouTube shorts, blog posts, and more is a service we offer our clients in our full production packages. So in that case, they're truly just the talent. And everything after they record is hands off on their part completely. Seamless and simple all the way through publish date. No reviewing transcripts, communicating timestamps to be edited, drafting show notes, or painfully deciding which pieces should be clipped into a reel. It's all done for you. Think of your podcast as the center of a wagon wheel, and imagine countless spokes shooting out from that central piece of content onto any platform you want. This strategy saves you hours of work each week and increases the number of eyeballs and ears on your content. All right, the third letter in the acronym CRAFT is action. You could also replace action with ask, whichever speaks to you. What you must have in an episode to drive client acquisition is a very clear ask. As a business owner, I want you to have a lead magnet that helps you collect email addresses and build your list, a series of emails that nurture those subscribers, and at least one product that your fans and followers can purchase online without your attention being needed to complete that transaction. This is the most basic funnel and the bare minimum you must have to begin to make sales from randos online. Whether you choose to tell listeners about your free download, your low ticket $7 thing, or your highest ticket $10K offer is up to you. You have to ask for the sale though. The thing is, you get one ask per episode. You get to pick one thing. You can mention that call to action a few times, but it has to be the same name and link and product throughout all your calls to action per episode. And since people don't generally take action the first time they hear something, I recommend you keep the same call to action for a minimum of 8 episodes before changing it. Think like an online shopper for a moment. That's what your podcast listeners or YouTube viewers are. Is it more likely that you'll sign up for a package or program that's several $1,000s? Or is it more likely that you'll sign up for their free PDF? Probably the free download, because it's risk-free. All you have to provide is your email address. No sweat. Then, after you get value from that free thing, you start getting emails from this business owner. You like them. Your connection with them is growing because you're listening to their episode each week. And in time, you trust them more and make a bigger purchase. This is why your funnel is important. All you have to do is sell your free download. Be mindful of the way you speak about this free PDF or spreadsheet by talking about the benefits the listener or viewer will receive from this free thing. And the way that you tell them how to get it is your call to action. Structure the intro to your episode to include a call to action. Create a commercial for your free download and put that in the first 20% of your episode. And include a call to action in your outro. So that's 3 opportunities right there within your episode. And remember, nobody knows about your free thing if you don't talk about it. And if you don't talk about it, they don't know to sign up. They're never going to sign up because they don't know about it. If you're not sold on the whole email list and subscriber thing, consider that 50% of email users make a purchase off of their email once a month. And 23% of email users buy something from their inbox once a week. To convert listeners and viewers into clients, you must include a call to action in every episode. The last thing I'll say on that is that your call to action has to be one step, super simple, and very obvious. If you're directing them to a link and there's a button they should click, literally tell them to click the blue button in the center of the page, for example, they are not going to dig, click around, or spend 2 extra seconds trying to figure out what they're supposed to do. So make it so explicitly clear that a 4th grader could do it. Most of the time when someone complains they aren't getting traction from their show or that listeners aren't converting, I find 0 calls to action, or I find uncompelling or complicated calls to action in their episodes. If I have to scroll all the way to the bottom of your webpage to find the button, or I have to go from your IG link to 6 options on your link tree and then decide which one I'm supposed to pick, or if I have to go to your website and then navigate the menu and find resources and then pick from a list of 5 different PDFs, I'm not doing it. And that's the problem. They aren't either. With this information, audit yourself. Are you including a call to action? Are you being clear with your call to action? Is your call to action simple? If not, it's time to get to work. All right, 4. The 4th letter in the acronym CRAFT is feature. And this is where we're going to talk about featuring interviews or segments from guests or other experts in your field on your show to help bolster your authority and answer your clients' questions. So going back to your ideal clients' frequently asked questions, think about referral partners and what I call parallel providers in the space. People who your ideal client might also buy from. One of my clients is a tax strategist for business owners making 1 million or more in revenue. His guest list includes therapists, nutritionists, high-end health practitioners, life insurance experts, attorneys, investment advisors, and even estate planners. Another client is a financial advisor who mostly does solo episodes like this one, but occasionally has guests on about tax issues, estate planning, senior living, and even insurance experts. Each of these clients has thought about the parallel services their ideal client needs and strategically introduced their audience to those experts. The beauty of having guests on your show, even occasionally, is the networking effect that occurs within the podcast space. You and your guest have the opportunity to expose each other to each other's respective audiences, effectively growing your reach. All right, the T. We've gone through C, R, A, F, and we're on T, craft. So the final piece in knowing without a doubt if your podcast is effective at client acquisition is tracking. You need data. But not all metrics are worthwhile. Your total listens number, for example, is just a vanity metric, just as much as the number of likes on an Instagram post. It means nothing. Numbers that matter include the number of listens per episode, the percentage completion of each episode, the click-through rate to the links you share, traffic to those call to action web pages, and how people are finding your show or which apps or which devices they're listening from. Listens per episode is important to track because A, you can see this number increasing over time, indicating that more people are listening to your show. And B, because it's obvious when you hit on a hot topic and your listens are double or triple for that episode. You can then examine what you talked about and create additional content around that topic that your listeners obviously appreciate. Percentage completion of each episode can be found inside your Apple Podcast Creator account. And it's important because you can see when people drop off during your episode. You can pinpoint this to when a conversation seemed aimless or a particular topic or even at your commercial. And that will signal some tweaks need to be made, either in your production, in your script, or in your topic. Click-through rates and traffic to the pages where you're sending your ideal listener, using your call to action, of course, is a very clear measurement of how many people are actually doing what you ask them to. If the click-through rate or the traffic is low, perhaps your offer isn't compelling enough, or maybe you don't talk about the benefits they'd receive from following your suggested action. The other metric you want to look at is how people are finding your show and which devices they're listening from. This is important because you can pay more attention to those platforms where most of your audience is hanging out. If most of them are finding you and listening from their computer, perhaps they're coming from search engines or your website. And so you can dig in and explore what's showing up on the first page of Google, which pages of your website they're seeing and hanging out on. And that can allow you to optimize those web pages with your freebies, with your calls to action, with your products being featured. If listeners are tuning in primarily from Spotify, for example, you can log into your Spotify creator account and post a question beneath each of your episodes. If you get topic specific here and relate those questions to your episodes, you'll get to engage with that audience where they like to hang out. If your listenership is on Apple, for example, you can focus on requesting ratings and reviews and boost the trust of potential listeners as they browse and consider listening to your show. There's a platform-specific way you can engage with an audience no matter where or how they're consuming your content. It's a good idea to lean into that because it shows them you're a real human, that you actually care, and that you're paying attention to them. In closing, let's review the 5 most important factors to gaining clients from your podcast. This spells craft. So content, repurpose, action, feature, and track. Content is literally your topics. What are you covering and why is it important to the people who are listening? Repurpose is to get your content on other platforms where potential clients hang out. Action or ask is the request you're making in your episodes multiple times and keeping that same request at least 8 episodes so that people have a chance to take action. So CRAF is feature. This is where you're featuring guests or experts that are parallel in your industry. This can be referral partners or client success interviews. You can craft this any way you like. And then T for track. That's where you track your metrics, you pay attention to your stats, and you focus on metrics that actually matter and move you towards your goals. These all tie together and are interwoven. When you're tracking your episode completion rate, you're going back and you're evaluating your content and you're looking to see where people are dropping off of your episodes, if that has any correlation with your content or your call to action. If you feel like one of these areas is lacking or you aren't sure if you're strong in a particular letter of the craft and need an inside look, schedule a podcast audit with me. For business owners with an existing show, this is the first step to working together anyways. I need to evaluate your craft so I can create a strategy for you to follow that will help you reach your goals. The link to sign up for an audit is in the show notes, and my month is basically full already. So sign up today so we can get you unstuck in your client acquisition process ASAP. I can't wait to hear how you use this acronym to improve your show and podcast for client acquisition.